Dear MatPat, we need to talk.
We've found some lingering issues with your past Mario timeline.
Ever since the release of Super Mario Odyssey, Jumpman Mario and Mario have been confirmed to indeed be the same person, which kinda screws up your video's main selling point.
After all, it sounds pretty weird to have Colleen call herself Mario's one-up girl, considering you incorrectly determined 7 years ago that Pauline is Mario's mother.
But don't worry, after 4 rewrites and an embarrassing amount of time and commitment, we were able to make sense of the chronology of Nintendo's Mario games that have been released since then.
In doing so, whole new undertones to the inner workings of these beloved characters were unearthed.
Today we present to all of you the Mario timeline. Now before we get into the nitty-gritty of everything, let's just get through a bare-bones list of what we determined to be the chronological list of the games. The games are recorded in the order as follows.
Yoshis Island, Yoshis New Island, Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, and Yoshis Island DS. Following that, Mario Brothers, the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, no joke, and Donkey Kong are grouped within the Genesis era.
Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Bros. Lost Levels, Super Mario RPG, Super Mario Brothers 2, Super Mario 3D Land, Luigi's Mansion, Super Mario 64, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, again, Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, and Mario Luigi Dream Team take place in what we like to call the lengthy Mario vs. Bowser era.
Up next is Super Mario World, Super Mario Sunshine, Mario Party 7, and Luigi's Mansion 3 fitting into the Vacation era.
New Super Mario Bros., New Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario Maker 2, New Super Mario Bros. U and Luigi U, New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker for the Wii U, and Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury contain a lot of themes and ideas surrounding the Galaxy games, ergo has been appropriately titled as the Galaxy era.
They also serve as a precursor for the Peace era, where various other Mario Party games take place just before Mario Party Advance, Mario Party DS, Super Mario Party, the numerous Mario Kart games, and the assorted Mario Sports games, finally, Super Mario Bros. 3.
Following after, we have Super Mario Odyssey and Super Mario Land, taking place in what we refer to as the brief Bowser's Revenge era.
Finally, we can close the timeline with Wario Land 1, 2, 3, 4, Wario Land Shake It, and the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series in the Wario era.
Now that is a timeline, and we didn't even have to exclude a secondary series.
Shut up, Smash Bros. Doesn't count, okay? I mean, half the time it's just some kid's imagination, so who really needs it, right?
Okay, so now that you know what happened, let's go back to analyze the actual evidence and reasoning for our claims. I'm sure there's a lot of choices that may cause you to scratch your head, but I assure you that most of your questions will not go unanswered. So let's rewind far, far back to the beginning of Mario and Luigi's career.
Naturally, the first occupation this beautiful Italian man can have is an obnoxious screaming infant. Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island is the very earliest we can possibly witness the Mario Brothers. The plot of this game is as follows. A stork is on its way to carry Mario and Luigi to their parents, just flying peacefully through the clouds.
That is, until Kamek comes around, screws everything up, snatches baby Luigi, stuns the stork, and causes Mario to fall onto an island full of Yoshis.
Conveniently, Kamek also dropped a map, allowing them to go to baby Bowser's castle and save Luigi. With both of the brothers safe once more, they are given to the stork to continue their journey to their parents.
Actually, Stork takes Mario and Luigi to the wrong couple. Yoshi's New Island is basically a rehash of the first game, explicitly taking place right after the first.
Although, Mario not only has to save his brother, but also this egg island. And yes, while there is time travel involved as a quick last minute, oh yeah, there's an extra big boss fight, whoop-de-doo, baby Bowser never actually interacts or even sees his adult self, so it makes sense that this game can take place before another occurrence of time travel.
Speaking of, the next time we see the baby bros is in a Mario and Luigi game, Partners in Time, when a whole bunch of time travel trouble happens, causing the baby bros and baby Bowser to formally meet and interact with their adult selves.
The only game left is Yoshi's Island DS, which similarly uses time travel, but it isn't emphasized as anything particularly groundbreaking when compared to its predecessor.
Almost indicating that this has happened before.
Now that we talked about time travel, let's jump ahead, shall we? Given an approximate 25 years later, the 1983 arcade game Mario Bros. And the 1989 television show, the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, portray Mario and Luigi in the Brooklyn plumber days.
While the canonicity of the TV series is debatable,
I mean, how are we supposed to work with King Bowser's various villainous personas like Count Cupula and Coopfinger? Oh, simpler days of Mario on the TV screen.
its live-action portions can give us a pretty good grasp of what the two did on a day-to-day basis before the whole, warp pipe in the drain stuff happened to them. It may also be good to note this more obscure NES game, Wrecking Crew. You play Mario and Luigi as demolition workers. There's not much story significance to this, but we can estimate that it was a job they had sometime before coming to the Mushroom Kingdom. So, we could probably put it right before or after Mario Brothers. At this time, Mario has a girlfriend, Colleen, who has a tendency to get kidnapped by this grumpy gorilla.
The original 1981 Donkey Kong game doesn't do a real great job of explaining the plot, or anything going on really, but if we can learn anything from the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series, which is coming up much later, it can be implied that it's probably for something pretty petty.
Perhaps she didn't take his request to sing the incredible Banana Boat by Harry Belafonte. Who knows?
Anyways, the reason doesn't matter too much for the main series.
You know who does matter a whole bunch to the series? The ruler of the Koopa Kingdom himself, King Bowser.
In the Mario vs. Bowser era, he's been fighting against his regional neighbors in the Mushroom Kingdom and has plans to take over.
In doing so, he hopes to kidnap its ruler, Princess Peach of the Toadstools, in order to rid the land of her magical protection.
As demonstrated in games like Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, where she could just lift an unconscious Bowser up with the wave of her hand.
In Super Mario Bros., Mario is made aware of this conundrum for the kingdom and uses his heroic experiences saving Pauline to rescue some other chick. It's never really talked about how Mario just left Pauline to go do hero stuff for Peach. It's a bit strange to me how easily Mr. Mustache was drawn to Miss Toadstool's clutches, but oh well.
She must bake some really good cake.
Anyway, this brings us to our next game, Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars. Without getting too far into the plot of this game, we can conclude that it must take place after Super Mario Bros. 1 and 2. But wait a minute, you must be saying. You never mentioned Super Mario Bros. 2. Well, you would be right. However, I'm not referring to this Super Mario 2, rather the Mario 2 that Japan received.
Most people in the US know the game as Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, which is essentially an expansion to the first game. It features the same plot, same gameplay, just a ramped up difficulty. No significant story developments are present, so we can bunch it up with our trusty Super Mario Bros.
With that confusion aside, Mario RPG is placed here because of one key detail, that being Birdo.
If you're not aware, Birdo is a dinosaur who can spit eggs from her mouth. Why is Birdo so important? Well, Birdo is actually born in this game. While the Yoshi are a species that seemingly share the same knowledge among generations, weirdly enough, there's only ever been one Birdo. So we know that this has to be their first appearance.
In the other Super Mario Bros. 2, aka Super Mario USA, Mario even has dreams about Birdo.
Oh yeah, in case you weren't already enlightened, this whole game is a dream.
And other various characters that appeared in Mario RPG, so it's fair to say that these games have a chronological connection that is important to not overlook. Besides, how can you dream about something if you've never experienced it or at the very least have prior knowledge to it?
Next up is Super Mario 3D Land. Even though this is commonly believed to be a fairly late game in the series, it shares a ton of plot characteristics with the earlier games. It has a very tiny cast of characters and enemies, mostly consisting of Goombas and Koopa Troopas, and the story uses the basic Bowser kidnaps Peach trope.
However, the most important detail in this game is the Tanuki leaf. Oh yeah. 3D Land's story opening shows how the leaves were blown off of the tree, unlike Super Mario Bros. 3, which basically has most of its elements seemingly pre-established, but we'll get to that game later.
Its relationship to 3D World seems to disrupt people from seeing what this game actually is in scope, which is fairly small, and it's the reason why we're putting it in the early days of Mario and Bowser's rivalry.
Now, on to Luigi's Mansion, featuring King Boo, who has kidnapped Mario and attempts to do the same for Luigi by luring him to the haunted mansion. Instead of all that, we get introduced to the Poltergust, made by Professor Egad.
In the final boss battle, King Boo wears a King Bowser costume, and since an overly large costume like that is pretty hard to come by at your local Spirit Halloween store, this very well indicates that King Boo was working with Bowser all along, but for what purpose?
Well, once once the day is saved by Luigi, good old Mario has to go on his own adventure in Mario 64, where we find out Bowser miraculously has quietly taken over the castle.
I mean, we all know Bowser for making quite the scene in every other occurrence of him attacking the castle before and after this. So this odd outlier leads us to believe that Bowser was coordinating with King Boo the entire time.
A genius plan, really. Mario's kidnapped, so player 2 has to come to the rescue, leaving Peach completely defenseless. Alas, Mario is saved and Peach is released out of her glass-pane prison.
Bowser runs away with his half-blown-up tail between his legs, but not King Boo. He has bigger plans, and by bigger, I mean doing exactly the same thing, just with different ghosts involved and a dog.
Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon doesn't have much new going on for itself aside from being a direct sequel to Luigi's Mansion, and introducing the cute, hyper Polterpup as Luigi's official pet dog, which we get the privilege of seeing again later on.
This brings us to the Mario and Luigi series. These games can follow a very close chronology with each other, so they can easily be listed back to back. Fawful was a commonly recurring character for a bit, and the Poltergeist has multiple appearances throughout the game, so each game must take place right after Luigi's Mansion, and can be listed right after one another.
That is, every game except for Paper Jam, but we'll come back to that later.